Yes, only four participants today. Where are the others? Any idea?
So they'll be joining.
Yeah, so let's wait for 5 more minutes then.
Sure.
All right. Uh, I think we have a good head count now. So how are you guys doing? I hope I'm audible to you. Great. So have you been through the videos which I asked you to go through? Yes, how many of you been through the videos? Please raise the hand. Only one? Okay, Sukanto and Priyank. That's it. What about others? Anas is saying 70%. Uh, what is this? 65%, 70%? 70% of the video? Is that what you're saying? Progress bar. No, no, no. Don't tell me about the progress bar. Just tell me if you have completed watching both the videos or not, which I asked you to. Great. So can you tell me what all topic? So I can see from what, how many students we have today? 17. So among 17, I can see only 3 to 4 students saying that been through the video. What about others? Yes. See, if you are facing any difficulties, you can let me know. I can see it will be helpful for me to drive the session accordingly. If I assume that you all have been through the video and if I start teaching you something, you won't understand anything. Rakesh Pandey is asking, you mean the videos from upgrade? Yes. For basics of Python, you had what, 3 videos, right? Yeah. So the last 2 videos I'm talking about, not the first one. I think the first one was related to installation of the Jupyter notebook, right? Not that one. Priyank is saying in the first phase, most was which you told like Boolean, int, etc. Okay, that's fine. Then word split. Okay. See, what I want to understand is basically, have you like been through loops, then list comprehensions, all those part, the if-else statements, conditional statements, and functions. Have you been through those videos? If-else, loops, functions, list comprehension, these 4 things. If you have covered Boolean, int, that's fine. I mean, that is something which we covered, right, in the previous session itself. Hiten is saying no. Priyank is saying if else yes, loop no. Ankur is saying no, actually we had 2 TEE on Friday and Saturday, is it? How long are those videos? Can anyone tell me? Average 10 minutes each, right? So, and Hiten is saying 6 hours. No, not about the whole content, just the videos. All right. So see, from what I can understand here is, from our conversation here, I guess most of you haven't been through the video. Let's put it this way. Okay. Actually, I plan to take up the case study today, but if I take up the case study today, you won't be able to understand anything at all. At all. So let's do one thing. Let's keep the case study for the last session. I'll try to finish loops, list comprehension. If I'm able to finish list and list comprehension and loops early, I'll cover functions also. So function would be our last topic. If I'm able to finish these 3 topics today, we can reserve the entire session, the next session, for the case study. Does that sound okay to you? Yes. Shika is saying, sir, we have to submit a project on Sunday. We can try speed up if we follow. Exactly. See, if you don't know the concept, and if I take the case study, if I take the case study, you won't be able to understand anything. Acha, Anas is asking about project discussion. Can you guys tell me what all things do you want me to discuss related to your project? What are your expectations? Can you tell me? Anas, we don't have project. So let me do one thing. Let me just share my screen. Uh, so what I can do is I can explain you the project which was covered for the previous cohorts. I won't be able to show you the project which you will be having, but let me show you the project which was covered for the previous cohort so that you understand what to expect. Okay, getting it? So yeah, so see, the project, for example, now this is cohort 9. Okay, yours is cohort 10, I believe, right? So this is for the previous batch, where there was this project called fish management system. Fish management system. So basically, you as a I mean, you are supposed to create a fish management system uh, which performs certain tasks. Now, what are those tasks? We'll see. Okay, but before that, what they are saying in the business context is, yes, business context will be provided to you. Don't worry. For your project, business context would be provided. Uh, project assessment and submission would also be provided to you. This part. Okay, getting it? Yeah. So let me go back to the business context first. Yeah. So yeah, so these are the details about the fish management system. What all users do we have? We have admin and customer. Okay, so admin is the person who will, you know, enter the details of, now since this is a fish management system, the admin will have the rights to access or update the the information related to certain fish. Okay, so if you see here, admin show all the buckets with fish name and count, and an option to add fish. To add fish, the user enters the fish name and fish count. Okay, I'll don't worry for this now. We will discuss. I mean, you will understand as and when you see the questions. Okay, and customer should be able to see what all fish types that are available, the fish counts. Okay, if the fish count is 0, the customer won't be able to buy it. So you need to think of all these things, all these parameters. Okay, so here if you see, the management is hoping to have a system developed where staff enter the details and the price is calculated and the customer pays. Okay, so basically this is what the system is, but don't think of that you will have to create a portal or something. No, you just have to write a program. Yeah, so let's see the questions in detail. So these are the fish. This is the information that will be provided to you. Basically, you will have the fish ID, fish name, and the price. Okay, now here if you notice, fish ID for this fish name, what is this fish name? Rohu. So the fish ID is RH, but the fish price is RS100. Okay, RS100. But let's say if I take 5 fishes as a customer, 1 2 3 4 5, and do you think I'll be able to add this RS100, RS150, RS200, RS250, and RS210? Will I be able to add this? No, right? So what do you think should I do here? I'll have to separate this part, right? Yes or no? Yes or no? So basically, what you will see this in the next question. Okay, the first question we'll see. So if you notice the first question, what the first question, the task 1 says that you need to create a data structure to store the details of the fish ID and prices, the details of which are shared below. The management system will work only if the data is stored in a specific format. Okay, so this is the thing which will be provided to you. Let me copy this and let me open a notebook. Uh, Everyone, please open your notebooks. I don't know why it's saying. So, yeah. So I have fish ID, fish name, fish price, right? So if I run this, so if you notice, this fish ID, fish name, and fish prices, these are stored in, yes, what is this? Yes, Shan, exactly. So these are list. But if you go back to the portal, you need to convert, see, they give you hints also. You need to convert three lists using list comprehension. And once you have converted them, store the details of different fishes ID and prices in the table given below. So see, although the data is provided to you in this manner, you will have to, you need to exactly, you need to convert this into dictionary, right? Because how will I address what is the price of RH, right? Uh, what is the price of this fish, right? So you'll have to say, if I say zip fish ID comma fish name, you see what happens. No, it won't print anything. So you see, so this zip basically creates a dictionary. Okay, this zip basically creates a dictionary. So if you notice, when I'm printing this, don't focus for this at this point in time. We'll see for loops and those things in a while. So this is to tell you that RH is being associated with Rohu, CT is associated with Katla, TR is associated with Tortor. Similarly, you can do the same thing for prices also. But for price, fish ID and fish price, right? If I print here, I get RH, RS100, RS150, RS200, right? So you'll have to process it in a way that you will only get RH and you will be able to see just 100 here. And if you see, this is a string, right? We don't want this as string. We want this as integer, right? So you'll have to make some processing here. Getting it? Yes or no? Yeah, now that you have these two dictionaries, you can now go to the next task. The program should ask first for the type of user. So do you remember we did something called input in the previous session? Yes, do you all remember? One second. Yeah, so do you all remember we did something called input in the previous session? Yes, no? Right. So you will use that input to take what type of input a particular person is. Is it an admin or customer? Okay. So if the, so basically what I'm trying to say here is this task will be based on the if else statement. This particular task will be based on if else statement. Not necessary that your project will also have the same thing, but depending upon what type of users, if at all you have the user question in your project, you will have to use the if else statement. Getting it? If the person enters admin, So the person should have all the admin, should be able to perform the admin level activities. So these are the admin level activities. If the customer, if the person enters customer, so the customer should be able to perform all these activities. Now, let me also tell you, if a person enters customer, and if he or she is trying to perform these activities, it should not uh, allow the person to do so. Okay, you'll have to make sure these things. Getting it? Only admin should be able to do this task. Getting it? So again, you'll have to write your if else statement accordingly. Next is sorry, task 3, right? Yeah, so task 2 and task 3 is similar. Yes, based on what type of user input that we are receiving. Shan is asking, yes, understood the requirement of if else here, and we must we must have to use list of for admin and dict for customer. Yeah, up to you, up to you. Yeah, so Shika, you are absolutely correct. So all these tasks you'll have to perform in one single notebook, and you'll have to upload it here. Okay. So all the details would be provided to you in what name you should provide. So if you see here, once you have completed the project, zip both the submission file, Jupyter notebook, and video. Basically, you are also supposed to create video also, where in which you will explain your code, what tasks you are doing, how you are doing it. Gaurang is asking, can you please share this assignment for? No, I can't share this assignment to you. This is from cohort 9. Even I don't have the solution. this is this is the portal. I don't have the solution or these questions with me per se. Okay, this is everything on the portal, and this is exactly how your project question would look like. The page, the project page. Okay, you want me to share this question? Okay, so let me. Why don't you take a picture here? Can you? Video can be a screencast. Yes, Sukanto. Actually, this, I mean, whatever I'm saying now, they should have taken a session for you explaining uh, what all things are expected. Ansh is saying, do we have any solved example? I'm really new to Python. So see, that's what, see, if you all would have gone through the videos which I'm talking about, uh, I could have got more time, and uh, I could have taken the case study in the class itself. So let's see, like I said, let's cover loops, list comprehension, and functions by the end of our session today. And in the next session, I'll dedicate the entire session for case study. Okay, so you will get the idea how to deal with these questions, this type of questions. Is it fine? I understand you all are new to Python, and if I directly give such kind of questions to you, though the solution is very simple, but if you read this, it looks like there's a lot of things being expected from you, right? Yeah, so let's do one thing. Let's try to finish loops, functions, and list comprehensions today. And also, please, like I said, please go through the videos. It's very important. See, I've been given 7.5 hours here. Okay, it's very difficult to teach complete Python for data science. Uh, at least the syllabus that we have in these many hours. Okay, I usually take 24 to 48 hours to teach uh, this kind of syllabus. Yeah, I understand we are still learning ABCDs, but like I said, the time is very less. Okay, so it's like I said, it's up to you. If you do certain things, if you prepare certain things on your own, it will be helpful for me to take the case study in the class. That's it. Getting it? Rahul is saying this week we had 2 term exams. See again, I mean, I really feel for you, but then I can't really help here. I have just 3 sessions. I have been given 3 sessions. Okay. Ansh is saying, do you think the ASIC content is sufficient and covers all the aspect to proceed with the project? Yes. The ASIC content is enough, but like I said in the previous session also, and also let me repeat it here, that if you go through the ASIC content, if you go through the videos, you might feel things are very easy. You might feel that okay, this list comprehension, these loops, they looks very easy. They're very easy to understand. But the problem comes when you try to apply it, when you try to solve a basic question. Okay. So yeah, so let's begin. All right. So can anyone tell me what all things we covered in the previous session? Yes, quickly. I'll be very fast today. Okay. Yeah, we started with 1 second. Yeah, we started with data types, right? But before data types, we covered variables, right? Then what else apart from data types? Okay, under data types, tell me what all things we saw. Yes, int, integers, float, yes, strings. What else? Yes, we also saw Boolean, lists, tuple, dictionary, right? Do you all remember? Good. Then at the end, we saw the if-else statement, right? Or should I say conditional statements? Conditional statements. See, there are students in the class who already know Python. Okay, so and 80% of the class are not from programming coding background at all. Okay, so if I go very basic, please try to understand here. Otherwise, you people will go and complain that I'm going very slow. Okay, variable declaration, conditional statement, loops, and we also saw functions, right? Some functions. Can you tell me what all functions we saw in the session? We saw print, right? Print, input. We also saw type. What else? Yeah, do you all remember anything? Have you guys practiced? Yeah, append. Now see, these are all independent functions. if I talk about append, now this append is list specific, right? You can only apply append on lists. Yes or no? Can we apply append on tuples? No, right? Yes. So these are called as methods. Okay. So those functions which can be only applied for a certain data structure, such functions are called as methods. So this append is a list method. Okay. Yeah. What else? We also saw some functions, or should I say some methods for tuples, and we saw some methods for dictionaries as well, right? And I go through the functions as well. Have you all been through those functions? I mean those methods. For list, we had a lot of functions, right? Yes or no? For dictionaries also there were a lot of functions. So have you all been through them? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, only few are saying yes. Priyank is saying maybe. Okay. All right. So let's start. Let's proceed ahead now. Two participants have raised their hand. Who are these? Who is this admin? Admin. Who is this admin? Yes. Moderator. The moderator usually would appear in panelist, not in attendees. Okay. So admin, if you're listening, maybe consider renaming. No, admin is not a Trojan. I saw admin posting, please start with the session. Okay, let's start the class. Something like this. Okay, chalo, let's. Now, this was the notebook that we had, right? Where we stopped. Yeah. Dictionary, if else statement, right? The last part was if else, the conditional statements, right? All right. So now we'll start with loops. Now, can anyone tell me what are loops? Yes. So before going through loops, let's understand Python iterables. Okay. Now, what is an iterable? Iterable. Iterable, whatever. Now, iterable is a Python object that is capable of returning. Yes, that is capable of returning its one by one. Okay, we'll understand what is iterable programmatically in a while, but this iterable has the capacity to return the element of any data structure one by one. Okay, so for example, if I consider a list, okay, if I consider a list of, let's say, products, let's say apparels, um, bakery, cosmetics. Let's say these are the elements of this list called products. Now this iterable will have the capability to hold each of the element and return to the user one by one. Okay, that is what iterable is. So and this iterable in general terms take each elements from this list one by one. Ayushi is saying loops are what we repeat something over a particular condition, either it is satisfied or not. Yes, you're right. So if I talk about just loops, yes, loops are basically uh, are those constructs, those programming constructs that has the capacity or capability to repeat uh, a certain line of codes. Okay, so loops are programming constructs that has the capability to repeat a program or few lines of program, or should I say a block of code one after the other. Okay, now there are two types of loops. One is for loop and the other is while loop. Okay, we'll understand what these loops are and how these loops works. Okay, first we will start with for loop. Okay, let's start with for loop. The for loop. What is a for loop? The for loop is used to iterate, or should I say to go through the elements of sequence. Now, what are sequences? We have discussed this in the previous session. What are sequences? Sequences are nothing but they are those data types where you can go through each element one by one. Okay, if you remember in the previous session, we used something called indexing. Do you all remember index? Yes. So let's say if I have a string, I told you how the elements gets stored in the memory, right? One by one, and we can access the elements. We can access the elements of a of those data structure using indexes, right? Do you all remember this part? Yes. Yeah. So such kind of data structures, such data types are called as sequence. Okay, so your list is a sequence, dictionary is a sequence, tuple is a sequence, even string. Okay, so all these data types are sequences. Okay, so these loops, whatever for loop or while loop, they both are used to iterate over uh, the sequence data types. Okay, and what it does with those, I mean, if for loop is iterating through this list, so it holds this particular object one at a time, and it will perform the said operation, or it will operate the block of code onto this one first, this one next, and this one at the last. Okay, getting it? So let's say, let me take a very basic example here. Let me take a very basic example. Let's say I have a list of age. Okay, I have age of some people here. Let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I have age of 5 people. Okay, so if I say for, if I use a for loop here, so what happens is this for, what it does is it takes each elements one at a time. So let me write this for I in age print I. Okay, sorry, I. So if I run this, I'll explain this to you. if I run this, what happens is, first of all, understand the index, the syntax of for loop here. Okay, let me give you the syntax. Yeah, syntax. So you use the keyword for, okay, then you use something called as iterable. In, what is in? Can anyone tell me? What is in? What is this in? Can anyone tell me? Yes, it's a keyword. You're absolutely correct. But what it does? What are these called as? I don't know if you have been through operators or not. See, that's what. If you would have gone through some of the videos, would have been very helpful. So this is a membership operator. Membership operator. So there are two membership operator. One is in, and the other is not in. Okay, in and not in. So basically it returns, it just checks if a particular element exists in a sequence or not. Getting it? So please write this syntax. Please write the syntax of this for loop. Okay, and then you will have the line of code here. Make sure there is an indentation here. Okay, so this is a block of code. Block of code. So this block of code would be repeated for what this I will be holding. Okay, this I holds the elements of this variable one by one, and it applies this block of code on that particular value of I at a time. Getting it? This is how for loop works. Now here, if you see, this is an example. Okay, it is difficult sometimes to understand it through a syntax. Let's understand with an example here. So if you see here, I have a list called age. Yes, basically this age holds age of 5%. Okay, now when I say for I in age, if you notice, I'm following a syntax here. I'm using the for keyword, I space in age. Okay, so what this line does is it first holds 10. Getting it? The first thing it does is it holds the first value, which is 10. It goes inside the body of for loop. Now inside the body of for loop, if you notice, there is an indentation here, right? So this means that this print is a part of this for loop. Getting it? Yeah. So I is now holding 10. It gets inside and it prints 10. Yes. Do we have any line of code here? No, only print, right? Now it goes back again here. What is the next character, or what is the next element? 20. Yes, I holds the value of 20. It gets inside the body of for loop and it prints 20 here. Okay. Now, do we have any line of code after print? No, it goes back here again. Yes. Now it will hold the value 30. Okay. It gets inside the body. What is the value of I? 30. That's why it is printing 30 here. Do we have any line of code? No. Execution goes back to this line. Okay, now it will hold the value 40. It prints 40, and finally this I holds this value 50, gets inside the loop. It prints the value of I, which is 50. Yes, it goes back again here. It goes back again here. Do we have any more values to take? Do this I has any more values to take from this list age? No, right? So this execution won't go here, won't go inside, it comes outside. Okay, getting it? And the execution stops. Understood? Understood how for loop is working? Now I've taken a very simple example here. Here only I have only used one single line of code inside the for, inside this for's body. Yes. Now let's take another example. Let's take another example. Yeah, Rahul has a question. If we want to get the last index value where the loop stops, how to get it? Rahul, I didn't get you. Can you like please elaborate more? What are you expecting here? Okay, so what you can do here is you can say for I in range len age, you can say print I. You see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it prints the index of each of the elements. But again, I mean, though your question is valid, but I mean, we don't use for loop to get indexes as such. Getting it? Rakesh is saying in the absence of range, why doesn't it print garbage? Like that's, see, this is the main difference between C, C++ and Python. You don't have to uh, provide syntax just like we do in C, C++. Do you know how for loop? See, although the even see for loop works the same way in in C, C++, Java, Python, it works in the similar manner. But the way you write it is very different. Here, this writing for I in age is very simple as compared to what we write in C and C++. Or Java. Do you want to see how the for loop looks like in C, C++? You can go simply check here for loop in C. Okay. By the way, this program is .com. No. Check for Python programs on programmist.com and practice those Python programs. Okay, the solution itself will be given. So you see this syntax. This is the syntax. For you will write the initial statement, test expression, update statement with semicolons. Then you will give these two curly braces and write your code, line of code here. Right? So if you see this example, this is how it looks like as compared to what we write in Python in just 2 lines. Yes. Getting it? Okay, let's come back here. And now let's say I have a country, or let's say college name is equals to, let's say NMIMS. Okay. If I say for I in college name, print I. Now, can anyone tell me what would be the output? What is the output? Yes. Okay, the output would be NMIMS, but NMIMS, if you see here, the value is getting printed one after the other. Now, what if I ask you that this NMIMS, instead of printing like this, one after the other, I want all of them in one single line. What would you do? See, I'll tell you what, this print if let me give you an example how this print works. Okay, so print 5, and let's use another print. Let's say print 10. Okay, so if you notice here, after this line of code gets executed, which is printing 5, the cursor goes to the next line. Okay, the cursor goes to the next line after execution of print. Even if let's say there was no print 10 here, even if there was no print 10 here, the cursor is now present somewhere here below 5. So whenever next time the program encounters this print statement, it will print whatever we read onto the next line. Getting it? So why, I'll tell you why it works like this. So if you see the description of this print function, there are certain parameters given inside this print. Okay, we will not focus on these parts right now. Let's focus on this SEP and end. Okay, so these two parameters. So if you see this end is already set to certain value. Okay, when I say already set, if you see here, end is equal to something by default, right? By default, end is /n. What is this /n? /n in programming language, in any programming language, stands for next or new line character. Okay, so what it does is, whenever we use a print statement, it prints the value to the console. And since this end by default is /n means new line, that's the reason why after executing this print statement, the cursor goes to the next line. Getting it? Getting it? So if there is a question to you, and let's say they are telling you that we want NMIMS to be printed in one single line, we don't want each of these characters to be printed one after the other. So what you need to do is simply set end to space, or you can choose not to give a space here. So if I run this again, it prints NMIMS like this. Getting it, everyone? Getting it? Now there is another another parameter called SEP. Let's go back to the main program here. So here, if you notice, after n, although you're not able to see anything, there is a space here. See, can you see this? There is a space. Can you see this space? You know why this space, why the space is getting printed here? Because by default, this SEP character is set to SEP here, space here. Getting it? So let's say if I say print 5,10, okay, and run this. So in between 5 and 10, there is a space. Yes or no? And after 10 also there is a space, although you are not able to see it. So what I'm trying to say here is, after each character, and if you are printing them in one single line, there is a space by default. Getting it? If you are using single print statement and there are multiple values to print, those multiple values will be separated by a space. That is the reason why SEP has been given. SEP stands for separator. Yes, Rahul, you are absolutely correct. Getting it? Yes, no? Yeah, this was about for loop. Let's understand the while loop now. Okay, we'll take more questions on these loops, but for now we are trying to understand what these loops are. Let us understand what these loops are first, and then we'll start with we'll take few examples. Okay, now what is a while loop? Now again, while loop is used to iterate over a block of code, but usually the iteration here in while loop will be based on a certain condition. Okay, here if you see, there is no condition. Here this I in for loop, I is taking one single value at a time, and it is applying whatever line of code that is present inside this for loop on this particular value of I, which it holds at a particular time. Yes or no? There is no condition here. Are you able to see any condition here? Are you able to see any condition here? No, right? But in while loop, we give conditions. Okay, so for example, let me give you an example. Let's say I have x is equals to 0. Okay, x is equals to 0. And what I want to do is I want to print numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, if I ask you to print numbers from 1 to 10 using a for loop, what you will do, will simply say for I in, yes, range 10, you will say print the value of I. Okay, so you will have numbers from 0 to 10. Getting it? Yes or no? Am I writing down any condition here? No. This range is an input independent function provided by Python, which gives us numbers from 0 to this index. Okay, numbers from 0 to this index. Getting it? This is what range does. Now, as compared to for loop, where we don't use condition, this while loop uses a condition. So if I ask you to do the same operation of printing 0 to 10, what you will do here is you will say x is equals to 0. You will say while x is less than 10, less than or equal to 10. Yes, you will say print x. Now, this x is not going to update by itself. Here, I is getting updated by itself, right? The value I takes first is 0. It prints the value 0. Next, this I takes the next available value, which is 1. It goes inside, it prints the value, and so on, right? This I is basically taking one value at a time, one by one. But in while loop, this whatever x that I'm writing is not going to update by itself. Okay, here I is getting updated itself, but in while loop, this x doesn't get updated by itself. So we have to write one more line in here, x is equals to x plus 1, because we want to increase this x by 1, right? So if I run this, I have numbers from 0 to 10. Yes or no? Getting it? So we will see how this program works. Don't worry. So this while only understands the language of true or false. Okay, only understands the language of true and false. No matter what condition you write here, it only understands the language of true and false. So unless and until this condition is true, this block of code will get repeating. Getting it? So let's understand this program now. So you have x is equals to 0. Okay, let me use a marker here and explain this code to you. Yeah, so what is the initial value of 0? Initial value of 0 is x. Okay, what is the next line of code? While x is less than 10, less than or equal to 10. Is 0 less than 10? If I ask you, is 0 less than equal to 10? This is true, right? Yes or no? 0 is less than equal to this. Now this is mathematics here. Come on. Yeah. So this condition becomes true. The execution gets inside and it comes across this print statement, which is print x. The value of x is 0, so hence it prints 0 first. Getting it? Now the value of x gets updated. It basically adds +1 to it. It basically adds 1 to it. So what is the value of x now? X is equals to 1, right? The execution goes back here. It checks, is 1 less than or equal to 10? Yes. Yes, this is true, right? So the execution gets inside, it prints the value 1. The value of 1 gets updated. What is 1 plus 1? X is equals to 2 now. Yes, is 2 less than equal to 10? The answer is true. Now, since this is true, the execution gets inside. It comes across this print statement, which basically prints the value of 2 at this point. Sorry, it basically prints the value of x at this point. What is the value of x at this point? 2. It's in the next step, the value of x gets updated, right? So add x becomes 2 plus 1, which is 3. It again checks 3 is less than 10, which again is true. What is the value of x at till this point? 3. So it prints 3, and so on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now, after printing this 10, x now becomes, in the next step, x becomes x is equals to 10 plus 1, right? Which is nothing but x is equal to 11. Yes. Function goes back here. It checks, is 11 less than or equal to 10? What is the value now? This becomes false. Yes or no? This statement becomes false. Reason why the execution doesn't go here or here. Since after this while loop, there is no statement, the execution stops. Understood? Yeah, there are lots of questions. Should I clear this screen, or want to write something? Priyank is saying error. Let me just copy. What is the error? No, I don't see error here. I've simply copied your program and pasted it here. Yeah, so I think maybe what might have happened is you might have used X somewhere. Simply go to kernel and say restart and clear output, and then run the statement. Okay, and see. For me it's running. Your program is correct. So this happens because of the kernel sometimes. Okay, so understood the working of while loop, everyone? Have you understood how while and for works? How both of these loops works? Have you understood the working of these two? Everyone, any doubts? We'll take a look at examples, don't worry. Okay, perfect. Now let's see. Let me check your knowledge on something. Now let's say if I ask you to print table of a number. Okay, let's take the number from user. So the question here is, print a table of a number and take the number from user. Take the number from user. Yes. So whatever number the user enters, so let's say the number is entering number 5. So your program should print the table of 5. So 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10, 5 threes are 15, and so on. Do you want to try? Do you want to give it a try? You can use any loop. Use any loop, whichever you're comfortable, for loop or while loop. Okay. Take 2 minutes and let me know. Just paste your program here. I'll check if it is working. Anyone's done? Anyone? Don't paste your answer in everyone. Just paste your answer for hosts and panelists so that not everyone is able to see the answer. So do you have the option to choose hosts and panelists in the chat? Yeah, so paste your answer there. Anyone? Shan, Anas, Priyank, Ansh, anyone? Rakesh, Rahul, anyone's done? Priyank is saying invalid. What is invalid? Syntax. Yeah, follow the syntax correctly. Okay, let's see. Number. Let's take number as 5. Okay. I'll show the execution using both for loop and while loop to you. So if I say for I in range, so see what is the logic behind the table. So here, if you see, this remains constant. Only this is increasing one by one, right? This is 10, by the way. Only this is increasing one by one, right? The numbers remains constant. So I'll say for I in range, I want to go from 1, right? So 1 comma 11. By default, this range starts from 0, but I don't want to start from 0. I want to start from 1. Okay. So what I'll say is mult is equals to, you can say number into I, and you will print mult. You can write directly, you can directly write this inside this print statement. Okay, so if I run this, yes, do I have the values? Yes. Can you do the same thing in while now? Now here, all I need to do is I'll have to take, now since the program is asking, the question is to take the number from user. So I will say input, enter the number. Now this input takes everything by default as strings. So we need to convert that into a number, right? That's why I will use int here, right? Correct, Sukanto. So if I run, let's say 10 here, so it will print me the table of 10. Okay, now here there are certain changes which I can do. So I will say number, comma, into, comma, yes, I, comma, equal to, comma, 1. So if I run this, let's say I want to print the table for 7. So here, if you see, I have the output like this: 7, 1, 7, 7 to the 14, 7, 3, 21, 7 for the 28, and so on. So this looks more, much better, right? Than simply printing 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Yes. This number takes the number which is being entered every time. This X is nothing but, I just want to use a multiplication sign here. So it is a string. So I'm using X here, comma, I ka value is getting updated every time starting from 1. Equal to is something which I also want to add it in my one single line. Yeah. And mult is basically the multiplication of number and the value of I at that particular moment, right? So initially the value of I is 1. So number into I, what is 7 into 1? 7. So mult becomes 7. So you have this first line, getting it? Then second line, third line, and so on. Now, can you all try with while loop? Let's try with the while loop now. So again, take a number is equals to 5. So like I said, only this value is getting updated, right? Yes or no? So we want to start from 1. So I will say I is equals to 1. And I will say while I want to take I till I less than equal to 10, right? So Sukanto has a output here. Absolutely, absolutely. Your question, your program will work, Sukanto. Good. So let me take Sukanto's work here. So 5. So I have the table of 5. Getting it? What you can do is you can replace this by this print. Okay, so just to make it more, look more. So you have X, comma. You will use X inside. Yeah. I. Equal to. So if you run this, yes, you have the table of that particular number printed. Understood? Shashwat is saying how to close the for or while loop here. For example, I want to print thank you at the end of the table. So simply say thank you here, print. So this thank you should come out of the for loop, because if you use this for loop, if you use this thank you, print thank you inside this for loop, at every step it will write thank you, thank you, thank you. But what your question says is I want to print thank you after printing this table, right? So this table gets printed after this while loop gets executed completely, right? So that's when you want to write thank you outside this. So this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, and this is step 4. Okay, this entire thing here, this entire line is step 3. Okay, so you want to write this thank you after this step, right? This is where the table is getting printed. Shashwat is saying, so a blank line exits the loop. Not necessary. See, again, this is just to make you look better. It's not that just because you're giving a blank line, that means we are going to the next step. No, see, it is just to make you understand, okay, these are steps. If I write it like this, visually you won't be able to understand, right? But if I give a space here, you will understand what are the steps, right? Yes or no? See, if I use this print inside this while loop, what happens? At every line, it will print thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Getting it? So we'll have to write it outside the while loop. Rakesh is, it's like it won't come out of the loop until the condition is satisfied. Yes. Once false, it exits the loop and prints. Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct, Rakesh. So see this, like I said, this while only understands the language of true and false. Okay. So this line of code, whatever the body of while we have, whatever code that we write, it will only get executed till the time this condition is true. Once it becomes false, it won't get inside. The execution won't get inside. Priyank is asking, sir, please explain the logic behind writing. Okay. So see, again, this is a question for operators. Like I said, if you guys have been through operators, you would have understood this part. So this is, what is this plus equal to? So when I write I is equals to I plus 1 and write it like this, it means the same thing. So what it means is just update the value of I by 1. That is what it means. Add 1 to this I and assign, see there are two parts, plus equal to, right? So add value of 1 and assign that updated value to this I. That is what it means. Getting it? So like I said, please guys, operators is something which is very easy to understand. You should have gone through it. I don't know why you haven't. In the previous session also, I asked you, please go through operators. Operators is very easy. There are logical operators, arithmetical operators, assignment operators. This is a part of assignment operators. Then there's membership operators. Rahul is saying, is I++ also used in Python? No. See, it gives a syntax error. No, like I said, see, don't compare this with C and C++. Just because you write something in C++ or C, it works here. No, it's not like that. This is Python. This is a different language. C, C++, and Java, these are related language. That's why this for loop or the if else statement looks very similar. At least in C++, they look very same, right? So you might have this understanding, yeah, just because I'm using I'm using for loop in C, and if I'm using the same kind of for loop in C++, it will work across all the languages. No, it's not like that. C++ is an extension of C. That's why it is called as C++. Okay, Shashwat is asking, can we give I certain value within the while condition for like in range? Or no, we can't give it like this. like I said, this while has to be followed by a condition. Okay, you are only supposed to give condition here. Okay, for range and all, you have this for loop, no? Because what happens is in real time, you might want to repeat a certain line of code until a certain condition is true. You don't want to repeat a certain line of code one after the other, right? What will you do in such cases? So in such cases, while loop is to be used. Getting it? Getting it, everyone? I hope this loops part is clear to you. Yes, both for and while. Yes, no, maybe. Now, see, the thing is, this looks very easy. It is easy to understand also. But like I said, this is a program. This is a program to print a table, right? Now here, if you notice, if you remember from my first class, we have a declaration here. Yes, variable declaration. This is also variable declaration. This is a loop. And again, this is some function here, right? So a program will always have these three. Okay, you will also have if else statements as well. Okay, getting it? So no one will teach you how to write a program, but they will teach you how to declare a variable, how to write a while loop. Yes, but program is something which you have to write. Okay, it's like playing a game of it's like playing games. So uh, that this right hand arrow key takes a character in a game in the right direction. Then you have the left hand arrow key which takes the character in your game in the left direction, right? So as according to the situation, you will make your character go here and there, right? In a game, right? So programming is also like playing games, but playing games with these kind of statements. It's logical. That's why I always tell you guys, don't treat programming as a theoretical subject. Don't treat programming as a theoretical subject, just like any theoretical subject in your MBA or any other course for that matter. Sukant is saying, could we insert a condition to check if the data type is correct? Like if it's string, an error message will. Yes, that you can do. You can do that. So there is something called I don't know if you. I mean, not go into that direction because that comes under development part. Okay, we don't want to learn that part. There is something called exception handling. There is something called exception handling. Exception handling. Okay, but you don't want to learn this part. Okay, because you are not Python developer. You will be using Python for data analysis, right? So let's not get into that direction. Getting it? We are learning Python, which is necessary for the data analysis. There's a lot of things you can spend 1 year learning Python, and it still won't be enough. We are learning a part of Python which is only used for data analysis, and that's what we as a business analyst will be doing, right? You won't be developing websites, you won't be developing softwares, right? So let's not go there. Yeah, Rahul is asking a question. Suppose in our data set, the dates are not according to a proper date format like DDMMYY. What should we do? So there are libraries, Rahul. This is basics of Python. Maybe in the next Python session where you learn Python for business analytics, there you will learn about various libraries. Okay, you will learn about pandas, you will learn about matplotlib, you will learn about uh, NumPy, Seaborn, all these libraries, right? So what the question that you are asking is valid, but what I'm trying to say here is it comes under pandas. So whenever pandas reads a data set, it reads the format of the date time. uh, According to the column, it reads the for the type of that particular column, but sometime it fails, right? So this is again a valid question. So whenever it fails, there are certain libraries, inbuilt libraries, which are provided, which you can simply use it and apply it on your column, on those columns where you think the format is not correct. Just hardly 2-3 lines of code, that's it. You don't have to use a for loop in those cases, loop or if else condition. No, just use a library, use a you take a function from that library and just apply it on that column. That's it. Okay, shall we move ahead? Okay, let's start with list comprehensions. List comprehensions. Yeah, can anyone tell me what are list comprehensions? First of all, what is comprehension? What is a comprehension? Anyone? Just basic in English, what does comprehension mean? Okay, ability to understand. So there are reading comprehensions, there are writing comprehensions. What are list comprehensions? Can anyone guess? Make a guess here. Can anyone make a guess? So yeah, so here you all are saying, okay, comprehension means ability to understand or ability to write. So what would list comprehension be? So list comprehension would be ability to, yeah, like right, Priyank. So ability to interpret the list, right? But whose ability is it? Is it our ability or the Python's ability? Yes. So see, this list comprehension, basically, I'll tell you the difference first. Okay. I think if I give you an example, uh, so let's say, uh, I want you to write a program that prints the square of, let's say, the first 5 numbers. I want you to write a program that prints the square of the first 5 numbers. What will you do? How will you write it? Yes. Anyone? So what I want you to do is I want you to write a program that stores, okay, that stores the square of first 5 number inside a list. So let's see how we write it using basic program. So I'm initializing a list. This is an empty list, right? So I will say for I in, let me give a space every time, okay, just for your better understanding. So for I in range, I will start from 1 and I'll go till the 6th index, which is the number 5, right? So I will say num underscore square dot. So this is a empty list, right? I want to put the square of each of the numbers from this range inside this list, right? So I will say dot append. Yes. And I will write I into I, right? And I will print num square. If I run this, I have the, basically this is a program to, yes. Yeah, you can write it like this also. You can write it like this also. Okay, good. I think Shan has been through operators. So again, this is a to the power operator. You can use 3 also here, so it gives me cube. You can use 4, 5, 6 and so on. Okay, so for now the task is to get the squares. So this is a program to basically store the square of these numbers inside a list. Okay, but if I write the same thing in list comprehension, so I will say num squares. So the way I write it like this: I into I for I in range 1,6. That's it. That's it. You say print num square. Now, can you see the difference in the number of lines? Am I writing dot append anywhere? Was it necessary? No. Yes. Yes, I am using a for loop, but am I using it in a traditional way? For I in range 1,6 colon. Yes, indentation num square dot append I. Yes. No, right? So what is a list comprehension now? So list comprehension is basically the ability of Python to provide, basically list comprehension gives you a concise way to create a list. Okay, to create a, so it is Python's ability to you know uh, perform list operation in a very concise way. Getting it? Using this list comprehension reduces the number of line of codes that we write, and it also makes your program look more elegant. Getting it? And you can write conditions also. You can write conditions also in this single line. Okay, and comprehension is for list operations only. Okay, so let me give you a syntax. Let me give you the syntax. To write a list comprehension. So you will have yes output for I in whatever variable name that you have, and next is if condition. Getting it? So output for loop condition. Now this, what is this output? This output is nothing but the output expression. What should be your output? So in this case, if you say this is the output expression and this is the for loop. Okay, usually for loop is used here, only for loop is used. We don't use while. Getting it? But this, like I said, this is optional. optional. Getting it? Let's take more example. Should we take more examples on list comprehensions? All right. I hope you have written down the syntax. I'm clearing the screen now. Shan is saying, sir, I'm able to do loops in regular methods, but in comprehension, especially when the number of conditions are increasing, I mess it up badly. Yeah. So this happens because although this here, the number of lines of codes are more, this is more easier to write than this. But if you keep this syntax in mind, you'll be able to I mean, you won't mess it up. Just keep the syntax in mind, and always remember this is for lists only. Okay, this is for lists only. Try to solve more questions on list comprehension. So when I say, when you go back home and solve questions, don't read the question and try to solve on your own. Initially, you take a look at the question and see how people are writing the code for it. Okay, and try to do it on your own then. Okay, this is how you should start. Okay, and as and when you gain confidence, then you should start writing your own code. Getting it? And try to think if you can play around. If, let's say, if the solution is provided in, let's say, for loop, so you should try, can I solve this example using a while loop? Because see, all you need to do is, it's about syntax. It's about syntax, using the syntax in a correct way, right? How do you learn English? You start with the ABCDs, right? You start with the ABCDs in your kindergarten, then you start reading different words, A for apple, ball, cat, fish, all these things. Then you start reading sentences, right? Yes or no? That's how you learn a language. Shashwat is saying, can you please explain how print is working here? Print is simply printing. See, this print has nothing to do with this line. Print is simply printing the list here. Do you want me to is that what you're asking, how this list comprehension is working? Is that what you're asking, Shashwat? So basically, list is being generated for, yes, no, see, I'll tell you what. In this code, let me first explain this code to you. Okay, this code, we are declaring a empty list. Yes, we are saying this num square is an empty list. Okay, and what I'm doing here is, for I in range 1,6. So basically, this range will create numbers from 1 to 5. Okay, the first value I is going to take is 1. Okay, it gets inside, and what it does is let me make it more simple. Okay, squares is equals to I into I. Let me write I into I for while, and let me write squares here. Okay, now the first value I takes is 1. It calculates this part. What is 1 into 1? 1. So this squares takes the value of 1. Now what what is the next line of code? The next line of code is num squares dot append. Now, if you all remember from the previous session, this dot append, what this dot append does, this dot append, yes, what it does? Yes, tell me, do you all remember? This adds whatever that we write inside this, inside the particular list, right? So this 1 into 1, which is 1, is pushed to this list. Next, this I takes the value of 2, right? What is the squares? 2 into 2, 4, right? So now this num square, after the first iteration was something like this, right? Now when this was I is equals to 1. Now when I is equals to 2, num squares dot append I into I, which is 4, right? So this 4 gets appended to this. So num square becomes 1 comma 4. Okay, next I is equals to 3. Squares becomes 3 into 3, which is 9. So this num square, what was the last known value of num square? 1 comma 4. So this 9 gets appended to this list. So it becomes 1 comma 4 comma 9 and so on. Getting it? So value then comma then space is a general format for the list that it takes by default. Yes, this is how a list looks like, right? Element 1 comma element 2 comma element 3, yes, and so on. Were you not present in the previous session, Shashwat? I missed that part. Okay. Oh, you are saying 1 comma space 4 comma space 9 comma space. So see, this is just for our understanding. There is no space present as such. The second element is 4 only. The third element is 9 only. It is not space. It is not, this is not. So see, indexing, if you remember, 1 comma 4 comma 9. What is the index of 1? 0. What is the index of 4? 1. What is the index of 9? 2. So if you have 1 comma 4 comma 9 in your list in the memory, this is how it gets stored. There is no space here. It is just printing to the console for our understanding, to just to make it, it is just making it look better. Okay. Yeah, so please go through those topics really well. Okay, so let's pick more examples. Yeah, so let's say I have product price. Okay, is 100 comma 190 comma 180 comma 250 comma 340. Okay, this is a list. Now I want you to write a list comprehension. Okay, I want you to write a list comprehension which basically doubles this price. First of all, remember the syntax. I hope you have noted down the syntax which I wrote here. Yeah, so write according to the syntax. Just follow the syntax. I want you to double the prices. double the prices. So result is equals to, how are you going to write it? Output expression. The first is output expression. So what is the output expression? I into 2, right? I want to double each of them, right? So that is what the output should be, I into 2. Yes or no? So simply say for I in product prices. That's it. You can print the result. Yeah. Understood? Now, let's say I have products. Okay. I have a list called products. So I think I have declared this list somewhere. Yeah. Okay. I have this products list, ABC. Then you have detergent. Then say electronics. Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to write a list comprehension that gives me just the first element, just the first, okay, the first element of each of these strings, the first letter of each of the words. I want you to write a list comprehension, the first letter of these words. Yes, Shan, you are absolutely correct. So I'm not storing it. I'm not storing this in any variable here. I'm directly printing it out. Yes. So I of 0, right? So this, if this is one element, I just want the I of 0, right? Yes or no? Getting it? Yes, no, maybe. Only Anas and Shan is saying yes. What about? Okay. Now what if I ask you to get the first 3 letters of each of these words? So what will you do? I want you to print, or I want you to create a list using a list comprehension that stores the first 3 letters, just the first 3 letters of each of these words. So what changes should I make here? Just give a :3, right? Yes, let's check the output. This is something which we did in the previous session, right? Indexing. Do you all remember? See, it's like I said, it's very easy to understand. There's nothing that we haven't done, right? It's just that whenever I'm asking you to write a program, that is where you are struggling. Yes or no? And when I write the program, you might have this feeling, okay, yaar, ye to pada tha. I have seen this. I've seen this. I've understood this. You might be having this feeling. See, I have been into your shoes as well. I hated programming like anything back in my college days, right? That's because I couldn't connect. Although I used to understand these things, okay, I understood variable declaration, I understood these loops, I understood the operator, I even understood the print statement, but it's the application part which I did not understand. Okay, so application you will understand. Now this is something which I'm telling out of my experience. Okay, I sucked big time in programming in my college days. So the more you practice, the more you will learn how to write programs. Okay, there is no option to it. You need to practice a lot. Getting it? There is not a single line of code which we haven't studied so far. Everything we have seen, right? It's just that whenever I am asking you to apply, see, it's the application part where everything is failing, right? So application is something which you will only learn when you start practicing. Getting it? Now see, so far we haven't seen any program where we have the if, where we have used the if condition, right? Yes or no? So let's say what I want you to do is, let's say I have item prices. Okay, I have a list called item prices, and the price is 56, 34, 108, 154, 600, say 90. Okay, so I have these 6 elements. What I want you to do is just take a look at the syntax. What I want you to do is I want you to use I want only those number in my list, in my output list, that are greater than 100. That are greater than 100. Yes. Anyone? Copy, paste. So this is Shan's answer. Okay. No, oh, I didn't run this. Yeah. So see, he followed the syntax. He followed the syntax. He simply replaced the output that we want. He simply replaced the variable. That's it. And he simply replaced the condition. Yes. Now Shan here has already practiced list comprehension. That's why he's able to answer these things. Okay, there's nothing to feel bad about. People who are not able to write this line, it's perfectly okay. But like I said, the more you practice, the better you get at programming. Getting it? Yes, no. Take this as an advice, okay? Sir, this is only first week of my life with Python. Will make it for sure. Yeah, good. And don't just do it for the sake of exams, okay? Please. You all are going to be business analysts, and if you don't know all this, you will, I mean, whenever you go back, I mean, hopefully you all will get placed, but when you start working, don't make a go to till that point that you'll have to again come back and start learning Python on your own. So if you have some time, just practice. I have also told you that there is this website called Program is. Okay, there are lots of Python programs. So let me just show it to you. Python program is. Okay, so you see examples. You see this Python examples. So there are lots of examples here. Check prime numbers, how to write a program that checks if a number is a prime or not. then Python program to add two numbers. Okay, there are lots of program given. You see, just go through all these programs. And by the way, these are the kind of questions which are usually asked in interviews. Okay, write a program for prime numbers, display the multiplication table, Fibonacci sequence, all this. Yeah, someone has some question here. Anas, if okay, is giving Boolean output. Let's see what is it. This line, right? Item prices. Yeah. So see what happens is we are not telling Python. We are not telling Python what to do when this is when this condition is true or false, right? So what it does is it checks this condition. It checks this condition on each of these elements. That's it. So are we telling what to do Python when this condition is true? No, right? So that's why it is simply using this expression on each of these elements. So the first element, so you are writing for I in item prices, right? The I is going to take first value is 56, right? So 56 greater than 100. So if I write this expression separately, 56 greater than 100, it returns false. So that's why you have false here. Okay, for the next element, which is 34, again the condition is false, it returns false. 108 is greater than 100, that's why you have true. You see here, getting it, Anas? I hope this is clear. Okay, since you haven't told Python what to do, what to print in the I mean what to have it in the list, you are just getting true and false for now. I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's say let me make a bit more complex. So let's say I have a text. Okay, let's say Anas has 3 pencils and 4 notebooks. Okay, let's say this is a text. Now what I want you to do is I want you to create a list that just stores the numbers that are available in this sentence. Okay, the numbers that are present in this sentence. Shan, if you know the answer, don't just directly put out to everyone. You can just put out to hosts and panelists. Others may give it a try. If you have learned lists or strings, and if you have been through all the methods which I asked you to, you might be able to answer this. Yes. Come on, quick. We have just half an hour. I want to cover functions as well. chunk is showing error, but my code was for I in testify is equals to no, that's not the right way. Please see, this is a string. Okay, this entire text is a string. So answer carefully. Shashwat is saying, sir, in line 32, okay, will change list value as well, or it just showing result basis given statement? No, it is not changing the item price at all. So if I print item price, it's still the same. So I'm not making change in the item price. I'm creating a new list. New, or should I say prices greater than 100 is equals to this. So this list that got created will be called prices greater than 100. Okay, it is not changing this list at all. It is just picking out the values from this list. Okay, yeah. Anyone on this? Don't skip anything. Whenever I tell you in the class itself, you just have to spend half an hour or 1 hour on whatever I tell you. Okay, even if you do this much, no, I think you'll be able to manage Python. But the more you skip, the more things fade away, and ultimately you won't be able to understand anything at all. Shashwat is saying, okay, got it. So in a single program, same list can be used multiple times for different. Yes. Unless and until you're using append or anything of that, you can use the same list multiple times and use conditions and store it in some other list. So here, if you see, I'm using item prices. Yes, I'm using the elements from item prices. And I'm creating a list out of it, which is to be stored in this variable. Correct. So anyone, let's give it a try. So see, this is a string. Now before writing out the list comprehension, the first thing you want to do is use text dot split. Now when I use text dot split, what it does is it splits this entire sentence, right, based on, you see these spaces, based on these spaces, it splits the list and stores each element as a single, each element inside a list. Is this clear? Is this clear? Dot split? Yes. Okay. Now, what is this? 3 and 4. So if I say 3 here, let's say x is equals to 3. Now this 3 is something like this. Okay, this is a string, right? And if I say x dot is digit, if you have been through the, if you would have followed my instruction in my previous session, where I was telling you to go through all the methods of strings, list, dictionaries, you would have used this. So what it returns true. If I use anus here, which is the first element, and run again, it returns false, right? So once I have this, I can use is digit to get this from this entire list? Yes or no? Yes or no? Right? So let's start writing the comprehension now. So numbers is equals to, let me delete these parts. Okay, this was just to explain you the intermediary step. Yeah, so this is the text that I have, right? Now I'm supposed to write a list comprehension. So I, for I in text dot split, if I dot is digit equal to true. If I print this, yeah, what do I have? Let me, sorry, run this again. Yeah, can you tell me what is happening here? Yes, it's adding the values found. So here, if I use int of I, oh, sorry, no. Wait, int of I, let me use it I here later. I have used numbers here, right? So I'm supposed to use numbers here as well. Yeah. So here, if you see, I have 3 and 4. I'm having 3 and 4 here, but this 3 and 4 are still strings, right? They are not numbers. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to write int here. So it will convert, I mean, it will first return these elements, yes, and then it will convert it into int. Yes, so these are numbers now. Getting it? So what things I have used here? I have used text.split and is digit. Getting it, everyone? Yes, no? Good. Now, let's say you have a sentence. Now, this is an example from the PPT. Okay, the PPT I think might have been shared with you. Now, those are my PPTs. Okay, you can find a lot of examples in there. Okay, where the mind is without fear. Now, let's say this is a sentence. Okay, this is a sentence, and I want you to print, or I want you to create a list of all the vowels that are used in this sentence. So how many vowels? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? So yeah, so how should I write it? So vowels is equals to output statement for I, then you will say for I in sentence, if I in A, E, I, O, U. Okay, if you print this, you have all the vowels that are in this sentence. Getting it? Yeah. Now, can anyone explain this line of code to me? See, writing a code is another thing. You should have the ability to read the code also. See, ultimately, we end up using Google for writing codes, right? So at least whenever you're reading the code online, whenever you're searching for code online using Google, you should understand the code as well, right? So no, you should be able to read the code as well. Okay. So can anyone tell me what is happening here? Can anyone explain me how this is working? Anyone? Okay, Priyank is saying I is able to recall true is a if AEIOU is there. Okay. Shika is saying picking out vowels from, see, that is what the program is. But my question to you is how it is working. Can you explain me? Can you tell me how it works? Starting from W. Yes, Shika. So what is the value I takes for the first time? Yeah. So I think you all are able to at least uh, read the program. I think that's really good at this point in time, given that you are not from programming background and you haven't practiced much. At least you are able to read these sentences. So let me show you. Let me just dry run it for you. And so this is the approach that you should follow whenever you are reading code. Okay, to understand it. So what is the first value I is taking? W, right? For I in sentence. The sentence is nothing but strings. So each of these are all elements, right? What is the first value I is taking? W. So the output statement is I, right? It will print I, whatever I is taking, that whatever I value takes at particular time. I for I in sentence, if I in AEIOU is W in this string AEIOU? No, right? False. So this condition becomes false. So is it going to print I? No. What is the next value? I takes H. Do we have H? Oops. Do we have H in AEIOU? Do we have H in this string? No. False. The condition becomes false. That means no I will be printed. I mean, no I will get inside this list. Next is E. So the condition is if I in AEIOU. Do we have E in AEIOU? True, right? In is a membership operator. So if E is a member of this string or not? Yes, E is a member of the string. So it returns true. That's the reason why we have E as the first value inside this list. Okay, the execution goes on and on till the time it. So next is R. Again, it becomes false. Next is E, where the condition becomes true. Then you have E here. That's how this program works. Getting it? So have this habit of taking one value of I and iterating that value through the program. Okay, this will help you to develop logic. No matter how good I teach you, no matter if there is a best Python teacher in the world comes and teach you, you won't learn Python unless and until, or you won't learn logic. You will learn Python, but you won't learn logic. Getting it? So if you want to develop your logic, this is how you should start decoding your program. Take one value, yes, pass that value through the program and see what it is returning, what it does with that value, your program does with that value. Just check. Getting it? So shall we move on to Python functions? Only Shan is saying yes. Okay, let's start with functions now. Python, or let me just say user defined functions. Yeah, so far, what all functions we have seen? We have seen print. Yes, we have seen input, type. Yes, what else? Int, right? Float, len. Yes, correct. We have seen len also, right? Range. Perfect, nice. What else? So we have seen these many functions, right? Now these functions, they are all inbuilt function. They are called as inbuilt functions. Python inbuilt. Right? So Python gives certain functions. Now see this print. Okay, now this print. Now Python knows, the creator of Python knows that a user might want to print something again and again on the console. So it's not feasible for the user. When I say user, the person who is using these functions or using this language, it's not feasible for them to write certain lines of code required to print a particular output onto the console, right? So what Python, the developer of Python did is they provided you with these statements, which if this was not present would have, you might want to have uh, write some, let's say 10 to 11 lines of code separately for that. So to avoid that, they give you these functions which are regularly used, right? You have seen, right, this print, input, type, and you are using this regularly, right? So what if there is a certain line of code that you might want to use in your own program? So you might want to consider writing your own code, right? Own function. So the ability given by the programming language to the user to write its own function, right, and using which the user writes his or own function is called as user defined functions. Now this is not a official definition or something. Okay, so what are user defined functions? User defined functions are nothing but those functions which the user writes. Let's put it in a very simple way. Yes, a function which the user defines himself or herself is known as user defined function. Okay, let's see the syntax first. Okay, so what is the syntax? def. This is the keyword that we need to use whenever we write our own function. Def. Def function name brackets parameters, parameter 1 comma parameter 2 and so on, colon. Okay, hit enter. There is a indentation here. Okay, and then you will write function body line 1, line 2, line 3 and so on. Okay, and your function might or might not have this return keyword. Okay, this is the syntax. Just write down this. This is the syntax. Okay, now this is not function body line when you are not supposed to write them as it is. Okay, this what I mean to say is this is the code. These are your codes. The main thing that you want to notice here is this def keyword and this return. Okay, so let's start with the basic. Let's define a basic function. Okay, so let's say you want to write a function that adds two numbers. Can you try it on your own? Can you give it a try? Just follow this syntax. Follow the syntax. Anyone? So let me just create a function called addition. Okay, now as we all know, addition usually happens between two numbers, right? Let's take them as x and y. Okay, so add is equals to plus y. Okay, and I will say return add. Okay, let me explain this code to you. Okay, don't do anything, just focus here. Everyone please focus here. So this is the line of code that I have written. Basically this is a function definition. Basically I'm defining a function called addition with two parameters x and y. Okay, and this x and y are getting added. I'm using x plus y here and I'm storing it a variable called add and I'm returning it. Now I've run this code. What next I will do is I will say summation is equals to, I will call this function and I will pass just any two numbers, let's say 4 comma 5, and print summation. Let me explain this code to you first. Okay, so what is happening here? See, this is called as function definition. This is function definition. Okay, and this is your program. Okay, or let me call in terms of Python as this is a calling program. Okay, because this function, this program is calling out the function called addition. That's why I'm calling it as calling program. Okay, so what happens here? So you have defined this function, right? So I am saying addition
in my calling program 4,5. In my main program, I'm using this. So what happens is whenever this line, this first line is executed, okay, this is where the function is getting called, right? In this line, this function is getting called, right? So the execution goes to the definition, okay? The execution along with it takes these numbers 4 and 5. X is taken as 4. I mean, this 4 is assigned to X, this 5 is assigned to Y according to the position, okay? Getting it? Here we have add is equals to X plus Y. What is the value of X? 4. What is the value of Y? 5. The addition is performed, which is 9. And you are saying return add. So what happens is after this is executed, this add is returned to the calling program. Okay, so summation in our main in the program becomes 4. Oh, sorry, 9. And then the execution goes to the next line, which is print. Okay, this is the value of summation, right? That's the reason why you have print on the console. Understood how this is working? How the execution is switching from the calling program to the function and coming back again. Understood the execution part? How the execution goes from the main function to this, to this main, from this main program to this function. Yes, is it clear? Now, Akshata is asking, so we need to put the def. Yes, whenever you want to define, whenever you are defining a function, use a def keyword always. Use a def keyword always. Now, let me explain this part to you. A very important part here. If I use print 9 here, okay, if I use print 9 here, can you tell me what will be the output? Now, this is a function, okay? I am running this because I've made the changes in the function. I am running this now. Now, if I run this again, can you tell me what will be the output? Rahul is saying error. Shan is saying 9. No. Okay, so let's run and see what happens. So you see here, 9 is getting printed, and along with that, none is getting printed. Now let me execute. Let's see how this execution works. Okay, so this is your calling program. Yes. So this is your calling program. This is where the function is getting called. The execution now goes here. Yes. X is 4. Y is 5. Yes. This line add is equals to 4 plus 5, which is nothing but 9. Right? Add becomes 9 now. And the execution comes across this print statement. Okay, I should have used add here. Okay, you can make the changes. Okay, yeah. So what is the value of add? 9. So 9 gets printed on the console. Now, is the function returning anything? Is the function returning anything? The function has stopped executing. It is not returning anything. The execution comes back to this line again. Is the function returning anything? Is the function returning anything? It is not returning anything, right? And the next time when the execution comes across print statement in the calling function, now this is summation holding anything? Since the program is not returning anything, summation is not holding anything, right? Yes or no? The summation, this line is not holding anything. That's the reason why it is getting printed as none. Now this none is a data type. We have studied int, string, list, tuple, dictionaries, right? Boolean. None is also a data type. None means the variable is holding nothing. That's it. That's the only use of none. Okay. We don't use none that much. It's just the returning or your input will have. We don't use it explicitly in our program. Okay. So Rahul is saying, sir, summation is a data type. Summation is a variable. Rahul, summation is a variable. It is not a data type. Okay, let's read the question. Sir, summation is a data type and addition is a function. So why not giving error? See, again, this is very basic. If you remember my class from the first session, what are variables? What are variables? Yes. Variables are those keywords that basically holds any value. Yes. So summation is not a data type. The value it holds, the value it holds will have a data type. So let's say summation is holding 9 in the previous where I was using a return statement, summation was holding 9, right? This 9 is a value. What is the type of this value? Int, right? So int is a data type. Summation is not a data type. Summation is a variable. A variable can hold any value, and the value can be of any data type. Getting it, Rahul? Akshata is saying, so we need to run function first before doing program. Yes. Shashwat is asking, sir, can we control the type of parameter to be considered for a function? Can we control the type of parameter to be considered for a function? What if we use this function to add 2 strings? How will it execute them? Let's see. Let's see. So summation, let me call this addition. Okay. Addition is, let's say, nm, and the other is ims. Okay. I am using a return here. Let me run this again since I have changed the definition, and print summation. Okay. Now this is a plus operator. Okay. If x and y, these are called as operands, and this is called an operator. Okay. So operand 1 is if both the operands are numbers, numerical addition will be performed. If both these operands are strings, Can you tell me what happens when you use this plus operator between two strings? Yes, it basically concatenates the strings, right? So this is what happens. Now, as you all have studied right from your childhood, that this plus means addition. Although this plus means addition, this plus is a Python. You are using from Python, right? So this plus has a special meaning. Can you perform this on a calculator? If I use nm plus ims, can you do that on calculator? No, right? And certainly if I ask you to do nm plus ims on a notebook, you won't be able to do it, right? You will say, what is the meaning of this? It doesn't make sense, right? In Python, this plus has a special meaning. It has been defined like that if both these operands that are getting used are numbers, it will perform addition. If both of them are strings, it will perform concatenation. If either one of them, let's say one of them is 9 and one of them is an integer and one of them is a string, what happens in this scenario? It throws an error. What is the error? You cannot perform concatenation between an integer and a string. Yes. Getting it, Shashwat? Now, again, this still hasn't answered his question yet. What is his question? Can we control this? See, I know where Shashwat is coming from. What happens is in other programming languages, you give int, or since this is a string, you will use keywords like str, you will use int here. Okay, sorry, not here, in that definition. Str int. Okay, but this is not allowed in Python. So every functions that we write, I mean in real time, what we usually do is we usually write the definitions like this. We write a doc string here and we tell params str or strx, stry, and we tell what x is and we also tell what y is. Okay, this is how typically we write functions in real time. Let me show something to you. So right now I'm working on a project. So these are the functions that we write. Okay, so somewhere you might see the definition. So you see here, I'm defining a function and I'm writing what is the description, what are the types, okay, all these things. Getting it? Enough. So yeah, so this is the project that I'm currently working on right now for a company. So yeah, this is what I was wanted to show, that you give the definitions and everything whenever defining a function. Oh, you're not able to see. Yeah, so you see this. So this is a function from keyword class variables.py. Now this Python file is full of functions. It is full of functions. Okay, it is full of functions. So here we give the description, we tell what are these data types, we tell the type of this. You see, this topic dict is a parameter. What is the type? Dictionary. We give the description, everything. We also give the return type, this R type. You see what is the type that this function returns, everything. Getting it? So this is a project where there are you can see this, there are multiple Python files. Okay, this is the main program. You see this topic comparison. You see this topic comparison. Yeah, this is the main program, and rest of them are the rest of the Python files are functions and functions only. They all are functions. Anas is saying, which ID is this? Not notebook. No, this is VS Code, Visual Studios, Visual Code Studio. You can we can also do the same thing using also, but I'm more comfortable with Visual Code. That's why I use it. Akshata is saying, but before also we run programs, so that time why we didn't use any function. See, we only use function when we think that I'll be using this certain type, this line of code multiple times in my program. So if you see here, let's say I have a enriched topic. This is a function. You see in real time how many number of lines of code I have? Yes. These are around what, 26, 28 line of code. So every time I want to do this operation, is it feasible to use these 29 or 28, 20, 30 line of code or 22 line of code every time I want to do a certain operation? Not feasible, right? See here I'm using just a basic operation of addition. Looks very easy, but what if you have multiple lines of code? Is it feasible to use the same thing again and again to perform addition? Yes, no, right? So simply define a function once and you can use the same line of code multiple times, as and when needed. I hope that answers your question, Akshata. All right. I think we are out of time right now. We'll continue the rest in the next session. I will take some more examples on user-defined functions, and we'll start with the case study. Okay, sounds good to you? And please guys, next time when you come back, please go through the video. Please go through the video and practice. Priyank is saying I'm motivated and demotivated at the same time. Why, Priyank? Have I demotivated you? I mean that was not my intention. Rahul is saying, sir, case study is not available on upgrade till now. They will release the case study after our session, it seems. I'm not going to take that case study, obviously. That case study is you are supposed to solve it. I'll be taking a case study which is based. So for you saw that fish management, right? So maybe I will take that. Ashish is saying, sir, where do we get to see the project? It's on the upgrade portal, but I don't think they have released the project yet. So you'll have to check that with the management. Okay. Please go through this notebook. I mean, we haven't, this is just the basics. Whatever we have covered is the basics. Go through the videos. If not, I have given you this. Let me just copy and paste it in the chat. So this is a website where you can see a lot of different types of programs are given. Okay. There are what, 98 programs. So out of these 98, even if you do 50 programs, I think you're good. Don't do it on your own. I'm not saying do it on your own. Go through the programs, read them, see what it is doing, how it is working, take one value at a time. Okay. And try to execute the program on your own. When I say execute it on your own, don't run it in the notebook. Take one value, take that value through each of the line and see how it is working. Getting it? Yeah, do you have any questions? Yeah, so I think Shashank has shared the feedback link. Please share your feedback. I mean, if you like the session, you can give good ratings. It helps me a lot. If you have something you feel that I can change in the maybe the way I teach, or you can let me know. You can share it accordingly in the feedback. Okay. Yeah, do you have any questions? I can unmute you. You can raise your hand. If you have any questions you want to ask, want to discuss, raise your hand. I can unmute you. Thank you. Thank you, Shashwat. Thank you, Anas. Thank you, Sukanto. Thank you, Rahul. Best of luck here for your exams today. But don't forget to learn or spend some time on Python. Okay, by the end of the day, maybe after your exams. Akshata is saying the link which you have, can we save it for the next time? You can bookmark in your browser. No, there is a star. No, they just click on that star. It gets saved. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Shan. Thank you, everyone.